What are you doing?
I don't know if you have the same thing I have, and you wanna see me dancing now. You got many different ways to let me know. What's the reason why I gotta stop? Muévelo, yeah. Muévelo, the one who's gonna ride. Man, you've been this whole, I got mine. Muévelo, yeah. No time to waste, gotta get the baby shit and say. Dame papi, tú me empapas como nadie lo hace. Dale, dame, dime baby, yo te dejo en trance. Papi, ponte pila, mami, espera, quiere late. Muévelo, you know what I'm talking. I was just only 5 when mama me was gone and got it trying to get another puss inside. Little girl, little love, granny sent me, she's the boss. You cannot even talk, I could be what I want. You know what I'm talking. Move it, give me, touch me. Talk to me so dirty. You got me so crazy. Dale papi, tú me empapas como nadie lo hace. Dale, dame, dime baby, yo te dejo en trance. Papi, ponte pila, mami, espera, quiere late. You know what I'm talking. Dame papi, tú me empapas como nadie lo hace. Dale, dame, dime baby, yo te dejo en trance. Papi, ponte pila, mami, espera, quiere late. You know what I'm talking. Como nadie lo hace. Move it, give me, touch me. Late. You know what I'm talking.
You could
I know my shit, but you on fire. Give me more time, baby, don't stop. I don't care if you really wanna trust me. I just wanna dance, you look at me. I know my shit, but you on fire. Bones break on them chairs like an old tie. See, girl, you know I'm idiot, I'm ready. So right, you gotta scream when you see me. He wish my hands make love to the melody. Ring to get in his smoke with the left and you. All I wanna hear that I'm better than you. Show me what you got, make me feel like confused. You and me together gonna make a dream true. Ooh, what these niggas on me for and you. And you, you don't. You what? Wait, who are you? Huh? Pull up on my bitches, I'm coming. Pull up on my bitches, I'm coming. Pull up on my bitches, I'm coming. I know my shit got you on fire. Pull up on my bitches, I'm coming. Do you want me to stay? Do you want me to go? You just have to tell me, cause I need to know. And you, all I wanna feel that you want me for you. Dime lo que quieras, yo tengo más que tú. All the end of stage, I can't wait to probe you. Oh, why you mad if you know this is true? Show me what you got, make me feel like confused. I can't take no more, I'm about to get high.
is information technology.
Rise up! Get loud! Rise up!
Get loud! Oh, he's got the, oh, look at him. That's what he's doing. He's got the little mic there. Save the children! They don't have a voice!
Come on, let's get loud! Come on! Woo! Let's go! Come on, get loud!
Get loud!
Rise up!
soul in. And your hoe calling back, she emotion.
Bitch, you fucking with a motherfucking Martian. Pushing all these hoes in the pit and the Martian. Levitate a bitch, take a cue, and I solve it. I can super root in the hood like I'm Robin. Coming the king of the dream, look at the rings, rolling the one on the sea. Bring the sirens, fuck a virus, you know what I mean? Underneath the dystopia, I'm rolling with no phobias. Ain't scared of shit, now I'm on the list. Get a grip, manifest a weapon with the tongue. Only gun I'm shooting is the one between my fucking gums. Blah, blah, blah. All these hands up in the air, cameras looking, they don't care. They be staring through a soul, they use them up in the hole. Money without gold, kids don't wanna die old. They wanna go to bed, they got too much in their head. Too much in their head. Inside your mind they try to find all these ways to weaponize and turn you blind into divine. The real look like a lie, the lie look like the realest. Cause they spitting up the village with a message on the ceiling. The sky made out the glass, we get masses, stuck in lower classes. All our money go to motherfucking taxes. Tell us where the racks, where the cheddar go. While they sitting back, having jack, grabbing straps and shooting max. While we isolated, split apart and told the limit conversation. Save ourselves from a contagion. Fuck each other up on the basis of a racist. Blame all the problems to all these other nations. Drones coming through, telling you to stay inside. We ain't made to be this kind. You'll be safe if you're blind. Drones coming through, telling you to stay inside. We ain't made to be this kind. You'll be safe if you're blind. 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 Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey yo! Hello everybody. It's me, the anti-flip lord, the ringleader of the reality circus we live in today, as we lead the new way into the new world order, into the cyberpunk dystopian fall of Western civilization, my friends. It's amazing how much this song has aged well in terms of the last few months. This is Lil Klimp. He looks a lot like me. I swear to God, I'm not him. His name is Lil Klimp, and the song's called Blind. Wow. You know, over the last few months, I don't think things are going to be slowing down anytime soon from what I've seen. Pandemic, lockdowns are reinstating. We see a bunch of more media that's definitely very, very questionable. And the state of the state of the world economy is going to collapse fairly soon or something like that. I know! I'm moving quite quick right now, everybody. Cue the existential crisis in the first 3 minutes of the stream, my friends. But hey, here's the thing. That's why I'm here, baby, because now we're forced to look at things without the veil of an illusion. The opulence and the gratification of the Western world and the developed first world seems to be coming to a stop. Because we don't know what the hell we're doing anymore. You know, the tearing down of the basic family unit, the consumption of media that influences everybody to behave and act in a particular manner that doesn't have any sort of substance and relies on superficial fulfilling of the void, if it makes sense. Hi, everybody. My name is Pierre Exo, and we're going to be talking about a subject that's popping up all over YouTube's algorithms, and oftentimes I will cover pretty much anything the entire collective internet consciousness will discuss. This time, it's something that I try to not talk about at all. Stuff that involves minors, stuff that involves PD, you know what I mean? It really makes me upset, and it makes me feel physically sick. I remember when I made my Davey Vanity video. If you don't know about that one, you can find it on my channel here. It's Davey Vanity is a friend of Jeffree Star's. He was a lead singer for a band called Blood on the Dance Floor, and he basically got caught multiple times for literally sexually abusing young girls underage, and he's been convicted, but he's still not in jail. I don't know how the hell that happened, but go ahead and watch that whenever you can. But after about maybe 4 days of doing extensive research on the subject, going through the evidence, looking at the pictures of the possible victims or the victims, and, you know, entering that black hole, I was utterly nauseous and I felt really fucking sick, and I couldn't really do anything for about a week after that. It was really, really, really upsetting. So with that being said, I'm not going to be covering anything that involves this type of stuff unless it's like unavoidable, but in this case, this stuff has been popping up all over my YouTube algorithm. This might be the last video I do amongst this subject, just because I have done the research on the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. I have done research on the whole Pizzagate thing. I don't know the validity of it, but it's still very, very upsetting to see anything related to that. I've researched on stuff on the Hollywood pedophilia ring, all of those things, right? Honestly, I don't recommend anybody going any further than getting the basic concept of these things. To indulge in hours or days of research absorbing this type of material isn't good for anybody's mental health. It's fucking awful. It will make you feel sick to your goddamn stomach, and you won't stop thinking about it for about a week after. And really, in the end, what exactly can you do about it in the immediate consumption of the video? It's just not good for anybody. It's really disgusting. It's nauseating. I feel utterly sick to my stomach every time I cover these things. So with that being said, I do have a bit of content here to talk to you guys about this situation, but this live stream is going to be based on the premise of there seems to be a lot of people defending this movie, Cuties, on Netflix here. And it's interesting because I do actually acknowledge the counter argument within the video that I did make about a few days ago. But let's even dive further in terms of what the counter argument is and what the impact of this movie being made could say. So we don't got any time to waste because the world's ending and the world's gonna burn and consume us all fairly soon. So let's get started. I'm not the type of person to be like, trigger warning, here's gonna be me showing my fucking lemon encrusted eyeshadow or something like this. But this definitely is deserving of a trigger warning, man. We're gonna explore a few things, and there's a lot of unsettling content, and there's gonna be a lot of subjects that will make anybody feel uncomfortable. And if you don't feel uncomfortable talking about this, then I guess you have a higher threshold, or maybe it's natural to feel really nauseous about the situation. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually play the trailer of the video, or trailer of the movie Cuties, that was brought onto Netflix by a French director, and we'll get into that fairly soon as well. So let's go ahead and look at the trailer. I didn't show this in my actual video of it, but let's go ahead and watch the video here, and then you guys can make your judgments while this is playing.
Mais qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Il se passe quoi là? Vous faisiez quoi la gare? On va danser au concours. Je danse avec vous. Quoi? Oh mais les gens sont grave kiffés, tu vois tous les likes qu'on a eu. Vous savez où passe l'esprit du mal? Ce sont ces femmes dénudées pour le mariage de ton père. Regarde comme elle te va. Tu es une femme maintenant. T'étais où là? T'as foutu quoi? J'étais en retard. En retard? Je suis désolée. Me dis pas... Non, tu l'as volé? Oh la teugle là, j'y crois pas!
À quoi tu joues là, ami? Qui es-tu, ami?
Laisse couler l'eau, ma chérie. Les péchés s'effacent avec.
Vous avez quel âge?
11 ans. Attends, là, 14.
There it is, guys. Go ahead and type in your gut reactions to what you just saw, and I'll put them up on the chat here. Go ahead, just say anything. Emojis, how you feel about it. One word, 2 word, a fucking sentence. How do you guys feel about the situation? There is a reason why I'm asking for this, for the gut reaction that you guys will have. I'm going to get a cup of water while you guys freak out. Okay. Yeah, it's super upsetting, right? Like, and I think it's a supernatural reaction to watching something like this, and that's exactly the reaction that I had when I first saw this as well. Like, dude, what the fuck is this, man? There's too many scenes. There's too many scenes where it overtly shows obviously underage girls moving and dressed in a very provocative way. You can't deny that. They're dressed provocatively, they're dancing provocatively, and they look very, very underage, and it's really uncomfortable to watch. Now, this has been met with a lot of counter arguments that basically imply the intention behind it. Yes, we'll get right into that, Amani. Thank you very much for the super chat here. By the way, guys, this video, the last video is demonetized that I made about this, and so is this live stream will be immediately demonetized. So every super chat counts, and I would love to hear what you guys have to say, and obviously it's a little easier for me to read when your super chats are being shown. So, to give a quick background on what this film is here, unfortunately, I can't really pronounce the director's name. It's French. It's Maïmouna Doucouré. I believe she's a black Muslim woman in France, and she directed this film to apparently make commentary on the stripping of innocence for underage girls in Western civilization. So she's trying to make commentary amongst young girls that grow up a little too fast in whether it be France or just in the West in general. And, you know, for example, if you see around on social media now, you have TikTok and you have Instagram, and a bunch of these young girls want to dress very provocatively and showcase themselves online and things like that. And this movie is supposed to make some sort of analysis on the particular situation, right? And this is the biggest counter argument that I am seeing amongst a lot of the defenders of the film. And I'm going to get into my viewpoint of that throughout this live stream, because I do see, don't get me wrong, I do see where she's coming from, and I do see what it's trying to do through this film. However, I just don't think it's as simple as, okay, this is just a terrible depiction of underage girls dressed provocatively, and I don't think it's just as simple as, oh, she's doing it just for commentary. Because the commentary itself, whether that be the intention, is that going to be the outcome just because it's the intention? I want to ask you guys this. If a person's intention, if that's the intention, should it affect how it's going to be perceived in the end? Because with that argument, it's saying that just because she might have good intentions with it, does that mean that we should all change the outcome collectively just because the intentions were there? Does that make sense? M says, I was a stripper. The standard stripper poses and dancing. Putting on knee pads on them doesn't make it okay. You guys have already seen the poster for it. I'm sure I'll pull it up again just so you guys know. Poster, cuties, Netflix. God, I feel terrible typing this shit in. So everyone's like, no, 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 no. And here's the thing. When an artist makes a work, can they affect the outcome in the end? Because people are going to think whatever they want to think in the end. So I understand that side of the argument too. But the problem is that it involves children, and it uses real underage girls to depict the message, and it showcases them in provocative ways, and has a TVMA rating, which people over the age of, 15 or 18 can only watch it. It's really hard to score that rating. Alex Urselli, thank you very much. The message could be handled better. Yes, I agree. I think it could have been done in a lot of different ways. And when you're exploring a particular topic like this, I think you have to take more caution to make it tasteful, or make it distasteful in an artistic way just enough. But I'm not going to be here to tell how anybody should make their movies and films. But there's an obvious reason why this movie here, if you look at the dislike ratio, it's 860,000 thumbs down compared to 24 thumbs up. See, at least that gives me hope in humanity that we can generally all collectively agree on one thing, that this thing probably shouldn't be put out in one of or the biggest video, movie, TV show distributors in the world right now. Netflix is quite possibly the most mainstream video platform out there next to YouTube. So I think there's a very good reason why this is. And is it necessarily is it the right argument to say that we all, the majority of the public, have to look at the intentions of a director in order to finally collectively say that we don't want to see actual imagery of young girls dressing and portraying themselves provocatively? So the thing is, I'm a very nuanced thinker, and I'm sure everybody here is as well. We all try to look things a bit further. However, there's a lot of other layers to the situation that I'm going to bring up right now that make it even more questionable. And here's the thing. I have this comment that I'm seeing right here. You should understand the intention by watching a movie. With that argument, do I have to look up pictures of naked underage girls in order to know that I'm not attracted to them? Do we all have to go out of our way to watch something that we already are turned off on to get an understanding of something? I don't think that's a valid argument. If this is the argument, then that means Netflix's marketing technique actually worked out really well. If the argument is that all of us should at least watch the movie before we make a judgment, guess what? Netflix won. That's exactly what they wanted you guys to say. You know what I mean? That means Netflix played the marketing game and fucking won if the solution of the issue is to actually go on Netflix to watch the movie before the judgment. Why does it have such an uplifting tone in the trailer and description if it's meant for commentary or satire? The thing is, Netflix wrote the description to say that it was a coming-of-age movie. An 11-year-old girl escapes her traditional conservative family and joins a dancing twerk team to explore her femininity, or just something like ridiculous like that. Bro, actions depict intentions. I don't believe that she's being true to themselves as artists. Don't you know you shouldn't watch CP to know that you don't like it. Exactly. I bet PDs just watch these kinds of shows the most anyway. Well, I mean, if you think about it, who is going to be the main demographic that watches this? You think the average healthy, normal adult over the age of 18, which is what it's rated, it's TVMA. So the average healthy adult that probably has kids or whatever, that's who they're targeted to. Do you think this person would see the release or see this trailer and be like, "Oh, I can't wait to watch that"? What demographic do you guys think would be the one that would go, "Oh, I can't wait to watch this"? You know what I mean? And the way that it's marketed on Netflix's end, I will say this is primarily Netflix's fault in terms of how they're degrading this. How they're degrading it and marketing it. And it's this. Sex industry jobs, including strippers, are 18 plus for a reason. No child should use sex industry moves for self-expression. Oh, the first Netflix description was 11-year-old explores her femininity by escaping a traditional family by joining a twerking dance team. And that's all it said, pretty much. You know? And that's a terrible way to depict it. When you see the poster of the film and then you see the description, what do you think people are going to think? It's super irresponsible marketing. It's the worstly, yes, I'm making that a word, it's the worstly marketed film that I have ever seen in my goddamn life. It has other intentions. So here are the changes when it comes to the actual posters. The left is the French version, and then the right is the American version. It's very obvious the difference between the cultures. Now, we can have an argument in terms of discussing the differentiations between European French cinema as opposed to American cinema. There's very, very big differences, and I know that European film often would explore topics that are way more taboo. But in this particular situation, there's a huge fault with the Americans, for sure, for fucking sure. But then I thought about it, and I'm looking at the left one. What if you brought your kid to that? You know what I mean? I'm looking at the left one now. I'm only having this realization at this point. The one on the left looks like some sort of Disney film where a bunch of girls have fun with each other going to shop. As a parent, that when you see that with the reviews and the 3 pink stars and shit, you would be like, oh, I can't wait to show my daughter this film because it looks like a girls' night out for 11-year-olds type of thing. And then you bring them out, and then it's misleading. So it's almost like the left poster is also bad in another way. Because from that poster on the left, what are you going to think the film is? You know what I mean? It's going to be misleading on the left, and it's also misleading on the right. But so the conclusion is the source of the material is fucking misleading and really questionable, which is the content of the film itself. So, when this movie released in France, I think there was a screening in terms of had some previewing, and it was displayed at Sundance, and then Sundance gave this movie a few awards, right? So there must be some sort of legitimacy because appeal to authority and getting validated through an award often, let's just say, gives a good light to whatever content it might be, except the shorty awards at YouTube, because YouTube awards, influencer awards, that's another world. But in terms of Sundance, it's like a pretty big, organization, and if they have the Sundance Film Festival Award stamp, then perhaps it's a good thing, right? Turns out, check this out, my friends. Sundance co-founder gets at least 6 years in sex abuse case. I wonder what for. Let's look here. Okay. Here it is. I'm going to zoom in. A filmmaker who co-founded the Sundance Film Festival and produced a movie whose lead actress won an Oscar in the mid-1980s was sentenced Tuesday for at least 6 years in prison after pleading guilty for sexual abuse of a child. Surprise, surprise, no wonder why those who are at the front of Sundance Film Organization decided to award a film the way of the content that it serves. It's very, very, very odd. So, obviously, this is opening up a bunch of more questions, and if anything, it actually answers a few. It would make a lot of sense why a film like this would be portrayed and win awards the way that it did. So, I mean, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? I have not seen the film. No one in the room has really seen the film. Should we? Should we watch the film in order to conclude our opinion about what is seen and shown so far? Because that is the argument. Don't judge what you haven't seen yet. But there are just some things that I just think that perhaps there's already the nature of certain things are just too questionable. Now, this part that I'm going to bring up right now is going to be fairly controversial, so get ready for this. But however, I do think that this is something that we really, really need to look at. A lot of the people that defend the film say because of the context of where the director comes from, she is a black Muslim woman living in France who is depicting a story that apparently she went through herself to make commentary about the world, right? We have seen this before because pageants like this have been around for a long time, and that stuff is sick too. Stuff on Dance Moms and, kids doing drag and all, kids learning how to twerk and stuff. It's not something that I think is necessarily okay. So back here is here. Black Muslim woman in France showcases her story of living up in, let's just say, a traditionally conservative Muslim family, liberating herself into the Western world by getting stripped of her innocence too young. But the film is there, okay? How would people react if it was a man who directed the same exact film? I want to know your opinion. The same exact film is made. Whatever the end-up narrative, the commentary, whatever it is, what would happen if the director was a man? Grossed out, definitely worse. They would say he's a misogynist. It would be worse, exactly. People would freak out, shut it down. He would be canceled. Hate. If he came out with the same exact film, whatever it might be in the end, it might have good intentions, whatever it is, the same film, right? And he said it was commentary on how young girls are stripped of their innocence. How would people react to it? Better yet, what if this was a straight white man? If it was a straight white man and made the same exact film, what would happen? I'll even give a little more leeway. What if he was a straight white man who was married to a black Muslim woman who went through it, but he directed the film to talk about what she went through? Would it be any more or less okay? Right? And I think we all know the answer here. Now, with that premise in mind, if it was a different director but the same exact film, the same exact trailer, whatever you want to call it. I opened up another interview here. Is this it? Here it is. So, guess what? There is a male producer. There is a male producer for the film. Okay? Now, if we scroll down in this interview here, I have it highlighted. How did you cast the 11-year-old female lead, her name? The casting process was a saga. We spent over 6 months and saw 600 candidates, and it was only in the very last hour of the day that we found her. It was a really emotional moment. $650 girls under the age of 16 years old that danced in front of, let's get it, a man and whoever the casting services are, or whatever, whoever is there. And only until the last hour, they found somebody? You went through 600 fucking people, 600 kids. You went through 600 fucking children, and you decided that in the last few hours that you found somebody. What? Think about this. 6 months of that. You don't even see 600 people when you go out to a busy city center. Imagine sitting at a park and imagine how much people you see there. Now fucking quadruple that. And then expand that over 6 months. Do you know how hard it would be to look at one by one how many individual people, not even children, just if you had to cast just 650 fucking people one at a time, how long that would take? and what you'll be watching. And guess what they have these young girls do? Okay, you can. I don't care who the director is. If you're directing the goddamn film, you should have some sort of decision on how this is done, right? We always scream about accountability and shit. Why does somebody just gets absolved of the fucking responsibility as a director of a goddamn film when you're casting 650 fucking children, forcing them to twerk in front of like a panel of what, like 6 dudes? 6 grown-ass men? You know the reason why I'm saying men is because it finally drives the fucking point home. Because if this film was directed by a man, whatever race you want to portray it, but for this purpose, let's say if this film was directed by a goddamn straight white man, what would happen? Why are people defending this film when the casting has 650 kids, man? I'm getting fucking really pissed about this because you really think about it. And only in the last hour, that's some fucking bullshit. That is some fucking bullshit. This whole child pageant bullshit, this dance mom bullshit. Yeah, they're just as guilty. This whole putting your kids in drag, the fucking like teaching like 11-year-olds how to twerk and stuff, and all the stuff you see on TikTok, dude, it's terrible, man. It's fucking terrible. You know, and you know, people want to say it's a fucking commentary. Okay, you want to make commentary on this? Perhaps there's a better way than to sit through 650. Dude, I hope the people that defend the fucking film like have their own goddamn kids and then they put their kids into that shit and see how they would feel and how comfortable they would feel with that. Or better yet, how about have these people sit in the casting process and watch the children one by one for 6 months or 650 times, and imagine if you can morally consciously sit through that and justify yourself. That's fucked up, man. That's fucked up. You don't do that. The director has to. It's such fucking bullshit sometimes. I know if the director was somebody else, how many people would be like, they're the director. They need accountability. Take the accountability. You need to fucking do it. No one takes accountability. You're the director of the film. You should be in charge of this. What happens now because of a person's gender, race, or whatever is different, all of a sudden this person's absolved of the accountability? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What you're doing is setting a 6-month casting process to look at almost 700 underage girls twerk one by one to make sure that you can develop a whole film that takes 3 years long to shoot, while have them portray themselves in barely any clothing and do the same scene over and over and over. To what? A film of a crew of at least 100 people on set. And I guarantee at least a few of those fucking men on set are getting off in their one way. You know how many people it takes to shoot a film? And you don't think one person looked at that and kind of liked what he was seeing? You know, it's different. It's fucking different, man. Dude, that's why I don't want to talk about this kind of shit, because it makes me really fucking upset. Anything that involves this stuff. Katie says, if you're gonna make a documentary explaining how young girls are being stripped of their innocence, you probably shouldn't do it by stripping them of their innocence, right? And my opinion is like, okay, I see the point of like, you gotta see it, so when you see it, you have that gut reaction and you realize how bad it is. The content is still the content, man. These girls are still legitimately underage in real life, and they went through almost 700 kids to get through this, dude. Well, fuck your intention, dude. There are some situations where the outcome overrides the intention. I'm sure we can all think of situations like this. You know? It's like, if there's something that we should pump the brakes on in this culture, it's stuff like this. And I have another question. How often do we look at the director of a film before we watch a movie? I know some actual legitimate film buffs would be like, oh, that's directed by Michael Bay. That's directed by Spielberg. This is directed by the... Dude, most of the time, the general populace, they just watch a fucking movie based on the trailer. Do you think we have to go out of our way to make sure like what the director is every time we see a film? You want to go on a date with somebody, you want to take your kid to a movie, you want to see a fucking Pixar film? Oh, let's look at the fucking director before we judge. No, that's not how the general public and how movies are marketed. You're telling me when we watch movies, we're all forced nowadays to look at the director? Dude, a small 10% of people, of film buffs, do that. People who watch films day to day, just average families, average people, they see the trailers of things, and then it looks interesting, they watch it. And to say that you got to look at the content, you got to do your research, you got to look at the film, watch the entire 2-hour film of a fucking team of 5 under. Dude, what kind of fucking argument is that? Watch the film that in the trailer portrays a team of 4 underage girls barely dressed in anything before you make a judgment. Oh, they're twerking too. You gotta sit through it first before you make your judgment. Guess what? I'm gonna end up finishing the film just even feeling worse than I did if I didn't. You think I'm gonna change my opinion? I got it. Thank you for making this film is great. My opinion changed from one before I watched it, and now I just feel even more fucking nauseous. Great. Fucking, I want to throw my esophagus away now. This is disgusting, dude. And guess what? If that is the argument, Netflix won in the end. They are forcing you to watch the film. Talk about it. You go watch it. Make your judgment yourself. God, man. Anyways. I don't know, dude. I mean, what I have left is just stuff that is legitimately happening in our world that involves more PD, you know, the child trafficking and stuff like this. If anybody doesn't want to listen to this, I don't blame you. Don't just shut this live stream down shut the live stream down now if you don't want to see any more upsetting material, because I'm going to show you just some brief summary of what Epstein was into and like stuff that's kind of happening within Hollywood and some people that were in the industry like exposing some shit. And this is the last video I'm going to be doing about this entire thing. I have the info that I can spread out to you guys. If you guys want to explore more of the details when it comes to this situation, go for it. It's not necessary, but as long as you know the basic premise, then that should be enough. Okay, so let me pull up the thing here. Thank you for the super chats, everyone. Since this is going to be demonetized, it doesn't matter who directs it, male or female, regardless of race. To make a film that over-sexualizes kids is wrong on so many levels. It should not be accepted as normal. As a child abuse survivor, I'm so thankful for your voice and strength, Pierre. Thank you very much, Katharina. Execution is more important than intention. It doesn't matter what you intended. What matters is what you did. Jesus Christ. Yes, and to briefly drive that point home, okay, say if the director had good intentions. Say if she did. You know how many people are a part of a film? At least hundreds. Right? What are the chances that all of these people on the film set and crew have the same exact intentions? Because I guarantee, maybe if we give the director the benefit of the doubt, imagine her pitching the movie to the actual studios or the film crew itself. She'd be like, hey, I want to make this coming of age film of, you know, how I grew up, or I was in a really repressed environment, and then I started dancing because I met a bunch of other girls my age and they were over-sexualizing themselves, so I want to make a film of when this situation happens. Imagine if fucking Jeffrey Epstein or Harvey Weinstein was in charge of the studio, which they were involved in film, so there's a lot of fucking people like that still haven't gotten caught. So they're sitting back and be like, oh, you know, that's a great idea. We could even show the girls dancing with barely anything and twerking. It's awful. But it would make the point because now it's commentary. What a great excuse, dude. What a fucking way to get away with murder. It's commentary. Dude, I've seen commentary that's done well that is very shocking and obscene. But goddamn, with the context of the world that we live in now, with the things that are happening in Hollywood and the people getting outed left and right, even Shane Dawson on YouTube. Shane Dawson, what if Shane Dawson used commentary? Huh? What about Shane Dawson? What if he uses commentary? Why do we excuse somebody else? And when I know damn well if that person was from a different fucking background, we wouldn't say the same things, dude. It bugs me really, really much, man. Especially with this, and the reason is because of this topic. Where's the social workers safeguarding children in the entertainment industry? There aren't any. In fact, that's a great segue because Hollywood is absolutely filled with pedos. Look it. This is Jeffrey Epstein. He is not exactly from Hollywood, but he knows a lot of people within it. So I'm going to give you guys a quick little introduction of this dude.
Who made a fortune as a hedge fund manager. A registered sex offender who made a fortune as a hedge fund manager in the 1980s and 90s. Known for his lavish lifestyle and high-profile connections, Jeffrey Epstein is facing new allegations that he exploited dozens of young girls for sex.
Victims were given cash payments if they could bring other underage girls to be similarly abused. And that's how he continued to expand the number of new victims that he had.
It's the latest in a decades-old saga that's been held up as an example of how powerful, rich men avoid accountability. So, who is Jeffrey Epstein?
All right, we'll leave it off from there. But what I want to do is showcase you how many people that he took on his private jet. And the private jet, if you guys don't know, is that he would take a bunch of celebrities as well as underage girls up on this plane and fly the celebrities and these girls back and forth to a private island that he owned, in which he also brought a bunch of underage girls to the island, and you can only guess what happened there. And I guarantee you don't want to know the details, but it's really fucking obscene. It's worse than just it's worse than you can even imagine. But let's see, Epstein flight log here. Epstein celebrity list. Here are all the famous people that Jeffrey Epstein was connected to. So let's see if this pulls. God damn it. Hold on, give me a second, y'all. A lot of these websites. Every celebrity named in the Jeffrey Epstein files. So anyways, you even have Ellen DeGeneres, John Legend, Chrissy Teigen. You have Oprah. Wait. Has been wrongly linked. Okay, hold on. Sorry. Not those. I read the only ones that aren't a bit of it. But if you just look it up, you will see a bunch of celebrities that ended up at this island here. There's Bill Clinton here. We can pull it up here. There's Bill Clinton, and there's pictures of him, and I know that just recent pictures of Bill Clinton with an underage girl, with her massaging him on the island apparently just came out as well. Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump knew him too. Prince Andrew, Stephen Hawking, dude. I don't know why that's the case. Jesus Christ. But it goes even longer than this. I don't know why it names only this much here. Hold on, let me... Jeffrey Epstein flight log. It goes on for a while, like a bunch of celebrities. Anyways, let's just leave it at that. So, with that being said, he has a lot of connections with people within the Hollywood movie industry and circuit as well. And you could even see photos of him here.
Well, we definitely received substantial evidence that he was involved in trafficking young women and children to the Virgin Islands. for a very long period of time through our airport, through his private jet. And then he would, by helicopter or sometimes boat, would then transport them over to Little St. James. And that's where he has his complex where he lives, which is his official residence as well. And that these young girls and women were subject to sexual assault, sexual exploitation, through coercion, false imprisonment, where the passports at some points were taken away. The actions were just reprehensible.
Yeah. So it's already proven. It's already proven he went to jail for it, and then you'll hear that meme like Epstein didn't kill himself. That's basically hinting at the fact that his suicide was really unlikely. Do you guys know the details of why they said that like they hung himself, but he had like a shot in the back of his head or something fucking ridiculous like that. But the reason why that they believe that he was assassinated is because he was connected to a bunch of government officials like the Clintons and maybe even Trump or maybe even like a bunch of other celebrities and stuff. And he had all this info that could just ruin the reputations of hundreds of celebrities and really powerful people. So that's the whole reasoning behind that. Now, to tie this into, I already closed it. But there's if you just look up Hollywood pedo ring or some shit, which I just don't recommend you do it. Just take my word for it. If you look it up, you'll see a bunch of evidence or a bunch of videos regarding the fact that there is a bunch of pedos within Hollywood. I mean, if that whole Harvey Weinstein situation didn't like explain anything, okay, most of these women were women of age, but if that was the case, why wouldn't they also just do that with kids? Because they just wouldn't even, it's so horrendous that people wouldn't even think that that would be the case. And there's a bunch of protests happening within LA and Hollywood covering this particular situation as well. So there are proven pedos within Hollywood, and especially within the Disney like film circuit route and the underage stuff. God, I have this video pulled up, but I don't even know if I want to show it. But it's basically Ariana Grande in this show Victorious, and she's being sexualized on the show for like 2 minutes, and there are some really, really questionable things that she's saying and that she's doing in this kids show that I don't even know why this would even be written in to the thing. You know what I mean? It's like, oh God, yeah. This I don't know if I want to play this. Do you guys want to see this or not? Because I don't know if it's a good thing to show. But in the meantime, like what I will say though is that this is a very common thing, and I even have like even Elijah Wood here. He was in Lord of the Rings, I think. There's a lot of vipers in this industry, people who have only their own interests. What bums me out about these situations is that the victims can't speak as loudly as the people in power. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna play the clip, okay? And if this makes you uncomfortable, just pause for like a little bit, and then it'll come back in a second. But I kind of just skipped to the part that's the most questionable part here.
Have you ever tried to get your whole big toe in your mouth? Check this out. Sometimes I wonder if you can get juice from a potato. Is it possible for a teenage girl to drink water upside down? I'm thirsty. It's not possible. This has been me in a video. Come on, give up the juice. Can you imagine what life would be like with hippopotamus teeth?
Yeah, I told you guys it's bad. It's fucking bad, and it's like, obviously, it's really easy to take certain things out of context and make it gross. But you got to keep in mind that something like this has a team of writers, like a screenwriting team. It has to go through the approval of the producers. It has to go through the approval of the directors. It has to go through like an entire fucking group of people. You don't think one of those people said, "Hey, this looks kind of off." You know what I mean? So I think that's extremely questionable, whatever they're showing there. It's been going on for years. Thank you for talking about it. I'm sorry we have to, but we do. Dan Schneider is still making this kind of stuff. Yeah. So, oh man. I just want to say that, like, again, this is the same point that I made on my actual video, the 10-minute, 11-minute one that I did on the cuties thing. And the problem with all of this, I'm actually going to leave the chat here because the chat might actually get deleted because YouTube does that with controversial content because censorship. And so the problem with all of this material, whether you do want to call it commentary, whether you don't want to call it commentary and you just know what it is for what it is, the problem with all of this stuff is, first of all, it's fucking sick. It's the most morally outrageous bullshit that I've ever seen. But the biggest impact about this is that it's ruining all of our connections with our own families, let alone children. And I'll make the same point because it's super fucking important. Children need healthy bonds with adults in their lives. And if children are being exposed to whatever the fuck this type of content is, whatever the new information or these new films coming out, and like all of this stuff that are also being viewed by adults, healthy parents as well, it doesn't allow for adults to develop healthy bonds with kids. And you need healthy bonds with adults in your life to grow up as a fully functioning human being. And I feel like a lot of this kind of stuff is making all of us fearful for a very, very good reason. Don't get me wrong. But the biggest danger about all of this is that how do we even begin raising the next generation with all of this information out? So I think releasing something like this movie, Cuties, regardless of the intention and the context, is irresponsible. I think how fucking Netflix marketed the damn thing is utterly tone deaf and the most irresponsible. Who the fuck wrote this Ariana Grande situation? That's fucking irresponsible. All of this is. And with all of this information coming out, it's really tone deaf to release a thing like Cuties, especially when Hollywood's getting revealed for the things that they are doing, you know? So the biggest fear for me is that, okay, well, what the fuck do we do from here, especially with the next generation? And this is exactly why Gen Z is so cynical. No wonder why a lot of Gen Z and younger generations that are coming are feeling neglected, because a lot of adults, a lot of parents are utterly paranoid of what their kid can go through. So then the kid can't develop healthy bonds with adults anymore. It ruins that trust. It's really, really unfortunate, this whole situation. And you know what? It has to be talked about, or at least, I don't even know, at least the information has to be out there. I don't want to have discussions, or I don't want to talk about it. This is more than enough that I need to know, you know? And I can only hope for the best in this situation, but it is what it is, guys, you know? Shit. I mean, I want to end this shit off on a positive note, but I have no idea where to go, man. I have no idea where to go with this. But I can only hope for the best. That's it. Just try to stay optimistic and just be a little cautious and careful, man. You know? And no, we're not gonna go through this. No. I wanted to end this off on a positive note. No, we're not doing that. This is why men in power. No, we're not doing that. Fuck. Oh, Jesus Christ, you have the best lighting. We talked about what we needed to talk about. Thank you, Fliptopians. Sometimes we do need to just talk about certain situations that are definitely not the most positive, and that are very, very troubling. So thanks for coming out, guys. I will be streaming on my other channel, Pierre Extra, and I would love to see you there. We're going to just talk about anything but this stuff. Now that I got this info out there, this is the last video that I'll make about anything regarding child trafficking or child abuse. It's not my job. I commend anybody who's really good at investigating this stuff and putting the info out there. I respect you in the fact that you're able to stomach this stuff, to spread the news. Unfortunately, I'm not the person for this, okay? I'm just going to stick to taking this lemon into my fucking head as the world ends up falling apart, baby, because there's nothing else you can do to put a lemon in your goddamn eye. How's that for a fucking positive note? Thank you very much, Debbie. When there are rocks to hide under, there will be slime underneath them. We need people like you to turn over the rocks and expose the dirt, and I will be that rock turner over, rock flipper. Okay, guys, I'll see you guys on my second channel, Pierre Extra. It's just going to be a good time. I just want to have a joyful, fun time with y'all without any of this nonsense, okay? Keep your head above the water, or at least learn how to swim, okay? It's the reality circus ringleader, Pierre XO. I will see you guys another time. We got a lot of videos coming for you. Bitte.
Hello, I'm Tony Hayward, President and CEO of BP. Our accidental drilling spill again in the Gulf is a tragedy that should have never happened. And to all those affected, I want to say, we are deeply sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. Sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. Sorry. We're sorry. I'm deeply sorry. Sorry. Hello, I'm Tony Hayward, President and CEO.
Netflix.
Thinks he's going to scarf down some pepperoni pizza with a 13-year-old girl he just met online. But tonight, he apparently has a different kind of topping in mind.
I mean, you look great.
Thanks.
You just look different than what than like in the pictures. I don't know, maybe I don't know. I expected you to have dark hair. You look
don't
great.
like it?
I think you look great. I'm just saying, like you look different, than I thought. What's that?
I have no idea.
What kind of pizza we have tonight? Who's this? I'll get to that in a minute. Who are you?
Tell me who you are.
I'm Chris Hansen. And this is an investigation. So if there's anything else you want people to know, anything you want to say, now would be a good time to say it.
I can't believe this happened.
Well,
Netflix.
believe it.
I know some people still maintain their Netflix subscription because they like Stranger Things, or maybe they like Black Mirror, maybe they're a Trailer Park Boys fan, but just know that this is how Netflix spends your money. The amount of people that this show had to go through to get approved would probably shock you. All of them should have been fired. Should be fired. The show, I don't know how, as a parent, you let your daughter act in this. This is just a complete systemic failure of the highest order. What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and Netflix has a new movie called Cuties, which, in their words, which they changed after being exposed. First of all, TVMA. TVMA is reserved for, like, just, you know what I mean? It's for adults, adults. Amy, 11, becomes fascinated with a twerking dance crew. Hoping to join them, she starts to explore her femininity, defying her family's tradition. She's 11! 11 years old. Netflix thought this was a great idea to fund and promote. And on top of that, they knew because afterwards, they changed the description after the internet found it to say, 11-year-old Amy starts to rebel against her conservative family's traditions when she becomes fascinated with a free-spirited dance troupe. Free-spirited dance group. No, you called it, in your own words, a twerking dance crew. The film is rated TVMA. Even 4chan has launched a full-scale operation against this. They've started to infiltrate the Q&As. Netflix refuses to answer questions about the PED stuff. Ask them in the new DGen movie, Cuties. And this is what you get. Help.netflix.com. Do you enjoy spicifying children? Who signed off on this? We understand that not all stories may appeal to our viewers, which is why we always invest in a diverse range of content from all over the world. We also provide ratings, synopses, trailers, and controls. Do you support the P word? A simple yes or no will suffice. We cannot really comment on that. While we believe in creative freedom at Netflix, we respect all religions and their cultures, traditions, and values. Do your content teams review content before it's added? Netflix. Yes, they are reviewing it. That's the reason why we have parental controls and viewing restrictions. So your flagging content will do nothing. Is that what you're saying? Because there is a disturbing amount of new P content added. Netflix, it can do something. I'll let this concern reach our content team. This is very troubling. Then you see Abe Lincoln perfectly point out here, when will people start picking up on the pattern? This is at least the fourth Netflix project to come under criticism for this exact thing. Desire, Netflix controversy. Director Diego Kaplan defends his film against accusations of CP. Netflix show called Baby follows two teenage girls from Rome to find themselves drawn into the city's underworld and start living double lives. The show is based on real-life spice trafficking. Well, I don't know about that one. Big Mouth, harmful to children. Released in 2017, Netflix original series Big Mouth centers on middle school children entering puberty. The show is filled with harmful, spicy content involving kids and is flooded with inappropriate scenes of kids showing their junk. I mean, Netflix. Right, there's a huge backlash going on right now. If the content creator's artistic freedom is spicifying kids, how can you support that? No worries, we are working to remove that. We don't have any additional information here. I can help with your No. Do you know how many people approve this? And then somebody at Netflix, this is perhaps the most egregious part of it. When they went in and changed it. Again, Amy, 11, becomes fascinated with twerking dance crew, hoping to join them. She starts to explore femininity, defying her family's traditions. Then they try to say 11-year-old Amy starts to rebel against her conservative family's traditions when she becomes fascinated with a free-spirited dance crew. That part of it, whoever made that change, knew! They knew! And the press is starting to pick it up, and we'll see. Netflix's Cuties slammed. More than 30,000 people have signed a petition, it's near 50 now, asking Netflix to remove Cuties, a movie they claim takes things too far with kids. The film, which premiered, and by the way, got awards, just to give you the kind of people that are giving awards at the Sundance Film Festival. Just saying. The film, which premiered at this year's Sundance Film Festival, premieres on the streaming service September 9th. The trailer, which released earlier this week on YouTube, has an NC-17 rating. Now, here's the thing. There are calls to ban this. This is a difficult position to support because I want my creeps right out in the open. If you watch this show, if you review this show positively, this movie positively, I want to know who you are. I think by removing it, you just send these creeps underground. What I want to read every positive review about this movie, and then I want to put that publisher or that reviewer's name on a list. And I want to make bets with myself about the next time I'll read about them, and maybe where they'll be heading. According to Metro, the original summary was much more salacious. Netflix told the outlet changes were made to ensure accuracy. Bull! Absolute bull. The main character, Amy, is a Senegalese Muslim girl who lives in a poor neighborhood in France. None of that matters. The French film, which goes by Mignons? Mignons? I don't know. I don't know French. Was written and directed by somebody who should be on a list, who is Senegalese. She won the Jury Award at Sundance for directing the movie. I'm sure that won't be the last time she faces some sort of thing involving a jury. Her inspiration for the film came from seeing the amateur talent show in Paris. There were these girls on stage dressed in really spicy fashion, in short, transparent clothes for the first time. They dance in a very suggestive manner. They also happen to be a number of African mothers in the audience. I was transfixed, watching a mixture of shock and admiration. I asked myself if these young girls understood what they were doing. So you made a movie about it. I mean, why not just make a movie about teen pregnancy? She spent a year interviewing kids in the area to find out why they wanted to act this way. Have you seen that music video, WAP? Have you seen what qualifies as popular music, popular musicians, and celebrities these days? Petitioners say the film takes advantage of kids. The movie Cutie shows children dressed provocatively dancing and is rated only for adult viewers. Isn't that curious? Right out in the open, boys. Reads their post on change.org. It was created for the entertainment of adults who are gross. Please sign the petition to protect our children. Some Twitter users were equally enraged. Much of the anger was directed at a marketing poster for the film, which shows a young cast posed in cropped dance costumes. When you call the movie Cuties and promote it like this, that's spicifying 11-year-old kids. Shame on you, Netflix. I mean, here's the original poster, which, is a little more normal. And here's what Netflix chose. Somebody at Netflix chose this photo. I wonder why. Might have been the same person who edited this to just say a spicy dance crew. Sister Outrider says, it's so revealing that the first major Netflix original to center young black girls hinges on explicitly spicifying 11-year-old children. Whether it's acting or music, this kind of image is too often the price of mainstream success for everybody hates it. A lot of people are making this a left or a right issue. No. Everybody hates this. Everybody hated it. The left, the right, SJWs, conservatives, or people on the far right, everybody hated this. The amount of people that signed off to approve this, the process in which somebody was allowed to stealthily edit the title of this, everyone involved in making this film is a microcosm of what's wrong with the world today. It's absolutely disgusting. The fact that Netflix would fund this is disgusting. Everybody that signed off on it is disgusting. The person that rated it, TVMA, so that it would be for adults only, is disgusting. Everything about this is gross. I don't know how any other way to describe this as who's a target for this? Creeps? I'll be watching who positively reviews this movie. I promise you that. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon. Cancel your Netflix.
In my previous video on it, I suggested that where are the politicians calling out this Netflix thing called Cuties? And they're coming out of the woodwork now. And more than that, there is now an investigation being launched against Netflix for child exploitation. And we'll be covering that just in a moment. Now, something that I didn't mention in my previous video, but I just wanted to raise before we get into this, is just the title of the show itself is called Cuties. Now, I know the director says that's the name of the dance group, but I would never have thought a bunch of 11-year-olds doing sexually explicit, or not explicit, but sexually orientated dancing should be called Cuties. Not at the best of times. Just not at all, not at any time. Anyway, so we've got two articles we're going to cover in this one. Senator Lee calls on Netflix CEO to remove the film Cuties from its service. Now, Mike Lee sent a letter to the CEO of Netflix asking for an explanation about the film Cuties, asking why it isn't child exploitation, and asking Netflix to stop distributing it. Now, before we go on, I want to say that Variety did a piece which was supposedly from Netflix, where Netflix has responded to the CancelNetflix hashtag that flowed around the other day. And they basically doubled down at that point and encouraged people to view it, and they said it was a social commentary on child exploitation. So that's the most asinine thing I've ever heard of. So what we're going to do is we're going to exploit children in a movie. We're going to what I would term as sexually exploit or sexual exploitation of children in a movie. We're going to actually do it, and we're going to call it a social commentary on that in the real world and trying to stop it from happening in the real world. That's just crazy lefty thinking, progressive leftism thinking. That's all I can term it as, because it seems to me that everything that left touches just turns to complete and utter garbage. Okay, so we'll just carry on. Lee writes, while I have concerns with the movie's young actress's influence on other young girls, my larger concern is with the possibility that the inappropriate scenes might encourage the sexual exploitation of young girls by adults. And Netflix has stood by the film and recommends people to watch it before condemning it. Why would Netflix want people to see the garbage they've put out to justify them putting it out? Already, have a look at Rotten Tomatoes, 88% something critics. We all know the critics are just crazy people. You can't believe what they say. Audience rating of 3. Now, last time I saw it, it had gone down to 3. So what did they say? Cuties is a social commentary against sexualisation of young children. So what do? They sexualise young children in the show, that's just bizarre thinking. Lee continues in his letter, the film's sexualisation of young girls, if not itself the sexual exploitation of the child actors, will certainly contribute to child sexual exploitation by others. At a minimum, it is certainly inappropriate and morally wrong to sexualise minors regardless of whether the depiction is fictional. Well, this is exactly right. Lee outlines the efforts of the US government to combat human trafficking and references an estimated 199,000 incidents of sexual exploitation of minors annually in the US. And of course, it's recently come out that US Marshals have been able to save loads of kids from being sexually exploited recently. That's just come out. Now, he calls on Netflix to cease distributing the movie. His full letter is at the end of the article. And look, they say here in the description, she joined a free-spirited dance clique. Well, originally it didn't say that. So the only thing Netflix did was they changed what they called it, and they apologised for the image. But they didn't really apologise for putting worse out in the movie itself. Okay. Now, there were some petitions going, and this one here, I'll put the link down below. This link, last I checked, had over 400,000 signatures to get the movie removed from Netflix. And the petition's organiser has said, I'm updating the petition to redirect signatures to the FBI and call for the investigation of the parent, staff, director, and especially Netflix. They all need to be charged for distribution of inappropriate content involving a minor. Now, this letter that the Senator sent, I will link this down below as well. But that's not all of Netflix's headaches. Netflix has far more headaches up its sleeve or coming its way, and that is in the case of a legal investigation now. And this is being launched in Texas. Lawmakers call for investigation against Netflix for degeneracy. That's all I'll call that. State Rep Matt Schaefer says he has asked the Office of the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, to investigate the film for possible violations of child exploitation and degeneracy laws. Netflix is at the centre of the controversy this week after it published and promoted a movie that many are calling whatever. Now some lawmakers in Texas are calling for action to be taken against the movie's streaming giant. Cuties, which was released on the platform, depicts the coming of age of a group of preteen girls who form a sexually suggestive dance troupe. Now, I'm not going to go into the description of what this says because that's bad enough as it is. In a post on Twitter, State Rep Matt Schaefer stated he had asked the Office of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton to investigate the film for possible violations of child exploitation and the degeneracy laws. So he's asked the Attorney General to investigate. Senator Bob Hall has thanked him, and he will file a bill. In addition, in their next Parliament, he's going to file a bill. And also, it gets even more interesting here. Does the film actually constitute this degenerate thing? A look at the case law would suggest it might. In 1986 case, United States versus DOS created a 6-factor guideline as to whether a piece of media constitutes this. 1. Whether the focal point of the visual depiction is on a child's sexual areas. 2. Whether the setting of the visual depiction is sexually suggestive, that is, in a place or pose generally associated with sexual activity. 3. Whether the child is depicted in an unnatural pose or inappropriate attire considering the age of the child. 4. Whether the child is fully or partially clothed or nude. 5. Whether the visually depiction suggests sexual coyness or a willingness to engage in sexual activity. And 6. Whether the visual depiction is intended or designed to elicit a sexual response in the viewer. Though the list is not exhaustive and not all points need to be met in order to be classified as this degenerate thing, some who have seen the movie say it meets all or most of these points. And of course, the Attorney General said, we don't confirm or deny any of our investigations. But considering that Rep has actually contacted the Department or the Attorney General and said, please investigate this, there's a pretty good chance that Netflix and this movie will be investigated, and possibly the director and possibly who knows how many people involved in this will be investigated as well, because they are all playing a part. And like I said, seeing as the US Marshals have just recently rescued a whole bunch of children, and they're continuing to rescue more and more children all the time from these areas, there's a really good chance that something will happen. Well, in my opinion, there's a good chance that something will happen with this investigation. I don't think this will just be one of these investigations that goes nowhere and we never hear of it again. I think we will be hearing again from this. Anyway, that's all I've got for this update. Just to let you know that this film and those behind it, in some way, shape or form, including Netflix, looks like for all intents and purposes they are being investigated for child exploitation and other degenerate things. If you have any questions or comments about it, do please leave them down below. And as I said before, the petition will be down below. If I can get the Senator's letter link, I'll throw that down below as well if you want to read that. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, please subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.